So a real-world rule of money for today has to do with a question that I hear a lot. What do I do first? Do I pay off my debt or do I invest? Do I get out of debt or do I save? Because, you know, this debt is just eating me alive. Or they say, you know, the interest on this debt is so high, you know, wouldn't I have to earn more interest than I'm paying on my debt just to break even? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so, as we've talked about in previous lessons, is that it's not always what the numbers say that is the best thing to do, because we're human beings, and logically there are ways to, you know, have spreadsheets and all different kinds of things that prove for each person which would be best on the numbers side, whether to invest or pay off debt or meet halfway, etc. But the challenge with running numbers only for human beings is numbers only would be something that you put into a computer or a robot, or giving something specific instructions that it's actually going to follow. The challenge sometimes of being human is that we give ourselves a set of instructions all the time, and then we don't follow those set of instructions. You know, have you ever set a New Year's resolution? Have you ever set a goal? Have you ever intended to do something? Unless a computer totally breaks down and explodes, a lot of the time, like 99.9% of the time, what you put into a computer, it will just do, because it receives that set of instructions, where a human being is not going to be the same. And so even if a financial plan or a spreadsheet or a workbook that we did shows that a certain thing numerically is better to do, doesn't necessarily mean that it is the best approach. And so when we look at it from like a graph point of view, the older we get, what should happen is our savings should increase and our debt should decrease. And if we just do one, so if we were to just focus on debt, which a lot of people feel like that would be the better way to go, is, hey, I'm going to start saving once my debt's paid off, then they look at this and they say, well, if I was to just focus on my debt and not save, well, then that debt arrow would go down faster and I would be out of debt faster. But then the only challenge is if they're paying off their debt as fast as humanly possible and not saving, what happens when a big emergency comes up? What money do they use to pay off the emergency, or is the debt arrow just going to pretty much stay on this same trajectory and go down and then up and then down and then up and then down and then up? And, you know, obviously anybody that's ever lived more than 5 years outside of their parents' house realize that savings does not just go up in a straight arrow and debt does not go down in a straight arrow. That life happens once you make a plan. And so the thing that I get asked a lot is, which do I do? And the answer is both. Unless the person is a robot and we can actually put together a perfectly set out numeric plan of which one is best, and then they can actually stick to it, in most cases, the answer to which do I do, the answer is both. And the reason that it needs to be both and not just one is just for the sake of habit and what you're focusing on. Bob Proctor says that the only time someone should think about debt is when they create a plan to pay it off, set it up on auto pay, and never think about it again, and focus on savings. But then to add another element to that would be to focus on saving and earning more money. Earn more money. Because these are both bottom line solutions to what a top line solution would solve. The bottom line solution is, once I pay everything, what do I have left to pay extra to debt or to save? But if the top line was more, then there would be more to save and more that we could apply to debt. And so because of emotion, because of being human beings, more often than not, the better thing to do is to do both, to be in a savings habit and to be eliminating debt as we go. And sure, the lines will cross at some point where we could just write out a check to our debt once those lines cross, but then again we would have nothing. And so it's not necessarily an either or, it's a both, and how do I organize both, but keeping in mind that we're trying to create financial balance and attacking all of these things at the same time. It's not just a one or the other, because once that debt's paid off, is the person really going to take everything they had and save it? And is there a guarantee that there's not going to be a whole bunch of other things that come up in the future, which is something that we don't know? And it's never a bad idea to save, and it's never a bad idea to pay off your debt. And so the rule is do both. Do both. Have a plan for both. Have a savings plan, have a debt elimination plan, and do both.